Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that the rain has died down enough that I can record again, I decided to crank out another video. And I was looking through some stuff, and a study got linked on looking at ketogenic diets and cancer. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And the reason this is important, and this is something that I've talked about in the past of needing to be open-minded with diets and science, and I had even said years ago that there was some potential promising data on ketogenic diets and cancer, and we needed to further research it. And unfortunately, there started coming out data showing that certain types of cancer cells actually thrive on ketones. So the presence of large amounts of ketones could actually help those tumors grow faster. And that made me say, okay, well, it's time to reassess that. That's no good. That means ketogenic diets may not be so good, because there was some promising results with some types of cancers. Some types of cancers, when combined with things like chemotherapy, that seem to have a higher success rate. So that needed to be looked at, and there was a certain logic behind it that possibly lower circulating insulin levels could lead to less tumor growth, everything else. And the problem we get into with that is that people have run with it in the fitness community like this is actually some sort of proven thing, and that ketogenic diets are helpful with cancer, when we didn't have enough data, and we still don't have enough data on that. It's a very controversial topic. But it is something that we need to be aware of. This is a big controversy. It's still being looked at. And here's the other big kicker that people need to remember. What reduces circulating insulin more than anything else, more than your diet does? How about losing body fat and lifting weights? What? How about adding cardio to your weightlifting and staying at a healthier, lower body fat? Doesn't that affect insulin more than your diet? People say, what do you mean? What I'm saying is people who live on a diet of 70% white rice, who lift weights hard 3 times a week and do cardio every day, probably have less circulating insulin than some people on ketogenic diets do. Let that sink in for a moment. It's not just your diet. Not just your diet that affects this. Your lifestyle actually has an enormous impact, and an athletic person just does not produce a large insulin response to even high glycemic index starchy carbs. When we start taking refined sugars out of the mix, circulating insulin actually comes down more than anything based upon physical activity. The more athletic you are, the lower your insulin response will be to any food that you eat. And as I was saying, someone who's morbidly obese and sedentary might actually have a higher circulating insulin on a ketogenic diet if they eat massive amounts of calories still, versus someone who's really athletic who eats a ton of white rice and white potatoes. The athletic person on these starchy, high GI carbs may actually have less circulating insulin every day than the other person does. So let that sink in. That's reality. Now, the whole thing is that we've got a lot of people out there saying, oh, ketogenic diets can help with cancer. And you have what's his name, Brandon Carter linking this. And it's scary that someone that stupid is giving advice like this. The guy's not very smart. He's not very well versed in science. And that's a bit of dangerous advice that's going to get people hurt potentially. Because here's the reality. This was being looked at, and now we have researchers saying, well, this is a concern. We need to start studying this. And I'll link this study below, and they're looking at this saying, okay, wait a minute. This is a concern, particularly for certain types of cancers, that keto diets may make it worse. And their concerns, 2 of the biggest ones they're concerned with, skin cancer and breast cancer. All right, skin cancer and breast cancer. Now that's interesting because skin cancer has taken a pretty heavy toll on people in this community, hasn't it? Because so many bodybuilders and fitness involved people love to tan and get a dark tan. And that includes even people who aren't Caucasian. And yes, you can get skin cancer from tanning too much even if you're black. You can still get skin cancer. You're just going to get it at a lower rate. You can still get it. But melanomas, that's what killed Reg Park, didn't it? One of the bodybuilding greats. Rich Piana got skin cancer twice before he died. A couple times. This is actually a cancer that very much people in the fitness community are at risk for because of their vanity and the tanning and stuff that they do. Puts them at a higher risk of this. Well, ketogenic diets, they're concerned that that is one of the types of cancer that the keto diets could actually make worse, and they want to do more studies. They've done some preliminary studies, and yeah, they are still concerned based upon the data they're finding in the very small studies they've looked at This is a real concern. So skin cancer and breast cancer are way up on near the top of the list of cancers that feed on ketones. And that's kind of the other kicker. Look how many women out there are getting involved in lifting because of breast cancer concerns, ovarian cancer, things like that. That's common and that's good advice. But how many of these women then who are at risk of breast cancer, who've suffered breast cancer and things like that, are going to get into the lifting world and listen to these jackasses like some of the people in the X-Fit movement, some of the people like Brandon Carter out there saying, oh yeah, do a ketogenic diet. And they already have breast tumors and things started, and the ketogenic diet potentially makes it grow rapidly. Because that is what the researchers are saying, hey, we're worried about this happening. This is actually a real possibility. We need to be concerned. And then they go get involved in lifting, but then get involved in a ketogenic diet. When the lifting would have helped them, but then they offset it with the keto diet. And if it turns out that the breast cancer can survive purely on ketones, some of the benefits of the weightlifting go away, don't they? Because, yeah, their insulin sensitivity is higher, which we know reduces cancer rates. That's how the pathway we know lifting weights reduces cancer. But then if it survives on ketones, they throw in a bunch of ketones and the breast tumors truck along and grow. So again, people giving bad advice. A ketogenic diet, as I've said repeatedly, every expert who uses this says do not do this diet on your own. This is a diet you should only do under the care of a medical doctor and or a registered dietitian. This is the people who prescribe these diets, the medical professionals. And then we have YouTubers and other people who think they know more than registered dietitians who prescribe and monitor patients on this sort of diet. And they're telling you these diets are risky, they carry risk, you shouldn't do them on your own. And then you got these morons on YouTube and in the fitness world telling everyone you should do this sort of diet. It'll help with cancer, it'll help with diabetes. Because they've read some books by people like Gary Taubes, one of the medical professionals whose job it is to use diets to cure these diseases, who've done their own clinical trials oftentimes. They've all had to work in the obesity ward. They've done internships. They have advanced degrees, are saying no. Then you have idiots telling people here on the internet to do it. I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, that's criminal negligence. It's bad ethics, and it's dangerous. These are bad people. Now some people say, well, maybe they don't know what they're saying is wrong, but does that affect it? That's kind of like saying, well, Hitler honestly believed exterminating the Jews was a good thing, so therefore maybe he wasn't a bad person, right? Because he honestly thought he was doing good. Isn't that the same sort of logic? They think that they're doing good, but they're killing people. Oops, that doesn't make them bad people. When you're killing people because you're too stupid to do research and you start marketing stuff for money, because you're too stupid to actually do real research and talk to real professionals, because you go read a book by someone like Gary Taubes, and that's the basis of your knowledge, and you're too fucking stupid to go do research yourself before you start prescribing diets to tens of thousands of people. No, that doesn't make you a good person. Being stupid and hurting people doesn't make you a good person because you thought you were doing good. It makes you a bad person. It means that you should realize that you're too stupid to be giving advice before you really and truly hurt people. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.